Hello, everyone. I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor for Gold Derby. I'm here with Adam DiVello, the executive producer of Netflix's Selling Sunset. And Adam, your show's been nominated for an Emmy for Best Unstructured Reality Series. Congratulations. As a producer, do you wake up on the nomination morning and pay attention, or what's that day like when the nominations come out for you?
It was funny this year. I usually just wait until I wake up this is only the second time we thought that we would get a nomination since last season was our first one. So, but I definitely jumped up this week, this time, and went to the website and was watching it live, and not realizing that they weren't going to do all the categories. I'm thinking to myself, and so the thing was over. The show was over. And I'm like, wait a minute, they didn't say anything about unstructured, reality. So I went, and then I already started getting texts from people saying, like, I think it was Gabby was the first one that texted me saying, Gabby from Netflix saying, congrats, you got the nom. So we're super excited, obviously.
And from your standpoints, now that you've had success and Emmy nominations, what does it take to make a good, successful reality TV show?
Gosh, there's so many ingredients. I always kind of equate it to like baking a cake. I know that sounds so not very exciting, but it takes all those special ingredients, right? There's just all the ingredients you need to make a cake, to make it rise, and all the ingredients you need to make a perfect show, whether it's like the big, loud, extremely bigger than life characters and the characters who are much more quiet and down to earth. And, it's just all that perfect mix of, obviously it comes down to the cast first and foremost, right? And the people that you're following. And then it's the access that they give you as well. I think that's the second most important thing, because if they're not going to give you full access to their lives, it's not going to be an authentic series. And I think the audience at home would realize that, so cast, and then access, and then an extremely talented production team, to put the whole thing together, from editors to cameramen, music supervisors. And it takes a lot of ingredients.
And Selling Sunset won Best Docu-Reality Show at the MTV Unscripted Awards, and Chriselle won Best Reality Star. So what's interesting to me is that you're a hit really with audiences and industry peers that vote for Emmys. That's not always the case. So it's interesting that your Emmy nominations also came with season 4. Do you think there was an improvement to your show that came in season 4, or does it take just that long to be recognized once you get off the ground?
That's a good question. I don't know there's a correct answer to it. I think that, when we were nominated last season, it came out of nowhere. We had no idea. We were just in shock. And it's so exciting that we're at a time in the entertainment industry where a reality show like mine can get a nomination. We've been, like you said, I've been doing this since, Laguna Beach and the Hills back in the day. No one was giving reality TV shows any Emmys, right? So, but I think with the birth of all these streaming networks and channels, it opens up the audience to more programming, right? And so we're just so happy to be nominated and in that bunch. It's very flattering and very honoring.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges at this point is just to be seen with just the sheer volume of great television that's on. This show is beautifully shot, and it gives us a glimpse into the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. How do you decide the houses you want to show? How do you convince the clients to appear on the show? Because some of them don't look great after they're shown. There's some diva behavior that we see. So how does that behind the scenes go?
It always starts, Denton, with the homes are all clients of Jason's, right? So they're all his listings, and we kind of we follow along with whatever he has, whatever homes they have selling, or they're working on while we're in production, right? So if we're shooting for a 6-month window, we try to cover whatever homes are on the market during that period. And then we we walk through it with the homeowners and explain to them what we need. And 9 out of 10 times they say yes. We do deal with a lot of celebrity homes. And so we don't always get the celebrities to come on, but sometimes we'll get somebody that represents them. And then other times people will come on and it doesn't work out so well for them. Like when you watch Davina in the $70 million house, with Adnan, who Adnan happens to be the nicest guy you could possibly imagine. He just comes across very stern and very stiff on camera, which is great
Petting
Great.
his Cocker Spaniels. I love it.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. I mean, he literally, he's great. And so, but yeah, we never know how they're going to come off on camera until we get in there and start shooting, right? It's just. I think from the minute we started the series, and Maya was showing a house to a guy, I'll never forget, season 1, and the guy was kind of flirting with her. He was like, he was definitely laying it on, and he knew the cameras were there, and I don't, whether he was doing it for the cameras or not, but it was great because I think that's when we realized, like, oh, this is going to be a lot more than just selling homes, right? We're going to see what really goes into it and the backstories and what these women actually go through.
And season 5 started with this bombshell that Chriselle and Jason were dating. So how do you learn about stuff like this as it happens? And as a producer, does that concern you, or are you like, oh, jackpot? Like, this is a story that we can use.
It's like the gift that keeps giving, right? We're just following along with their lives, so you can't predict this stuff. I mean, look, there's good things and bad things, right? So and sometimes as a producer, you're kind of like, okay, this is going to be great. This is going to give us a lot of content. And then there are times when bad things happen, right? Like for instance, when we met Chriselle for the first time, season 1, she was just engaged, right, to Justin Hartley. They just got engaged, and she was, about to get married and embark on her beautiful life. And so we kind of celebrated all that with her, and then we kind of were there for the downfall of that, which she was so nice and gracious to give us access to tell that story on a show, which didn't have to do. And then we're there for the ups and downs. So then she meets Jason, or they decide they're gonna connect. And we weren't there the minute that they connected. I think that they said that they were at Heather's. It was going to be Heather's engagement party or something, I think. And but we hear about it through the grapevine. We obviously have talent producers that talk to them every day, and a showrunner that talks to them every day, Sunday. And so when we hear about it, we just think, okay, how are we going to tell the story? Like, how do we tackle this? And at the time, we were actually down between seasons when that kind of hit, and they were all in Greece. So we kind of went up as quickly as possible with cameras. And thankfully, one of our producers, our executive producers, was already in London for the holiday. So she flew over from London, and we flew out some crew from here. And during COVID, miraculously shot footage in Mykonos, Greece, with the two of them on a date, or on a romantic holiday together.
Wow. Can that be difficult when a romance like that starts, because you have turnaround time? It takes a while to get the show edited. So by the time the show actually airs, they've broken up. So is that difficult for you to deal with as, storylines develop? What's the turnaround time that it takes you to go from the shooting to the edit room to actually get it streaming on Netflix? And what are the challenges there?
It varies. It depends on how many episodes there are, obviously. But it could be anywhere from like 6 to 8 months from the time we finish to delivery. And then Netflix takes it and they do what they have to do to it for international distribution. Yeah. So it takes time, but I think that, this is the same thing we dealt with, from the beginning of doing my shows when we were doing The Hills back in the day. Stuff would happen in between breaks, but it would always be like on Us Weekly. It wasn't so much social media back then. It was more the magazines and the supermarkets. And I think now everything's so viral and everything just happens immediately. And so I think people will just wait to tune in to see what really happened. What was the real story? They might hear that they broke up, but they're like, okay, let me watch the show to see, what was the demise? Like what made this happen? And I think that's what we rely on that.
And Christine has drama following her everywhere. So obviously viewers don't know what she's really like, but I can say we like watching her. She's like that sort of winking devil. What about her do you think drives the other women mad, and what makes her such great TV?
I think that, like all of our characters on our show, I think that everybody, has a special superpower, if you will. I think that, she's obviously a larger than life character. She brings all the, the clothing and the fashion and the pizzazz, and I think everyone has their own thing they bring to the table, right? Yeah, but she's, it's an ensemble cast, right? It's a bunch. I think they all have their own special power.
And we saw the addition of Chelsea in season 5, and she was a great choice. Chelsea gives Christine sort of someone to play with. I love their dynamic. What goes into a decision of adding members to the group? And, what does it take to have a role on this show? And how do you make that decision?
You know, it's really, again, it goes back to Jason because it's his agency, it's his brokerage. If he wants to bring somebody new on, he does, and you know, we can decide whether we want to follow them or not, right? But Chelsea was someone that he had met and through Christine, and he decided to bring her on, and we were very happy. I mean, obviously, we have to do contracts with them and you know go through all this paperwork before we put them on camera, but yeah, we're very happy that Chelsea came along. We love having her on the show. She's game for it, and she was so excited about it. And yeah, she made a very funny comment that she said her wardrobe has been waiting its whole life for this moment. So,
and that's what people get confused about, I think, is I think they think sometimes you're casting these people, but they're real estate agents. They are chosen by Jason, and there's other people in the group that you don't follow. I mean, there's a larger group of real estate agents that don't happen to be on the show, correct?
yeah, that's true. That's for sure. And they all, like, you know, like I said before about them all having different superpowers, if you will, but they all bring something different to the table. Like the thing that was really exciting about Chelsea is that she lives in Manhattan Beach and more of like that coastal community, which we don't get a lot of with our other agents. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that this season. More homes down there along the waterfront. So yeah, we're very excited to have her back, and you know, we're just starting up now in season 6, and we're excited to get going.
Have you started filming season 6? Like, do you have any teases? Is Christine back? Can you tell us?
Next week. I don't have anything to tell you about Christine, but I will tell you we start next week.
Okay.
We're just in pre-production mode right now. So we have a lot of surprises this season, a lot of great things in store that we're super excited about, including you're going to meet a new agent, which we're very excited about, and a couple actually. So we have some new people coming, and just bigger and better things happening. I mean, just the homes, everything's just kind of out of control. We were just touring homes last week, and I was just blown away. I'd never seen a home. One of them had 6 swimming pools. I will tease that to you. 6. Because everybody needs 6 swimming pools, right? You have 6 kids.
I couldn't possibly live somewhere with less than 4.
You and me both.
Just as a final question, how did you get your start in this business and rise to the position that you're in at this point? You know, was this what you always dreamed of? Did you just sort of land here? How did you go from where you started to Emmy nominee?
Wow. You're gonna start all the way back in the beginning. You know what? I've always wanted to work in television entertainment. It's been always been. I just always knew it since I was probably in my 8 or 9 years old. I originally wanted to work in advertising. I always thought I'd be making commercials. I love the idea of making a commercial, or that always interested me the most. But after taking about 2 years of college for advertising, I realized that I'd be better off like working in television, just because your chances of you actually making commercials is very slim in the advertising world. So I switched gears and went into TV, and I got an internship in New York at ABC, and did my internship there for a couple seasons back when Regis and Kathy Lee were on there. Not to date myself, but it was a while ago. But I worked on that show for 2 seasons, and then from there I went to MTV, and then I got a job in a videotape library where they used to store videos on big beta tapes. So if you needed Madonna's Like a Prayer, you had to go down there and sign it out, or Britney Spears at the time. And then worked my way up the ladder there, and eventually got a job in the production department. And then in that department, just worked my way up and up and up until we didn't have a development department per se on the East Coast in the production department. So it was just on the West Coast. So I made the suggestion, like, well, can we please start a development department here on the East Coast? And so they did. They were nice enough to start one up, and myself and this woman, Lacey Harrison, who I'm still friends with, started up the department, and we started developing shows out there. And that was great. And like from all of that came like Room Raiders and Say What Karaoke, and all these big shows back in that time for MTV. It was the time of like TRL and the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney Spears, and so it was a really, really fun time to be at MTV. This is probably around 2000. And so that was kind of it. And then we had, in the department, the idea of doing a reality like Beverly Hills 90210 idea kind of came up. Like, could we go to California and shoot a reality version of that show? And so I was the first one to raise my hand because I just used to just always wanted to live in California and spent every day looking through Hollywood Reporter, and I always look at the real estate section in California and look at the homes. So I was dying to come out here, and so I came out to develop that show. That show ended up becoming Laguna Beach after we found the right school, and came out here as an executive on that show, stayed, and never went back. I was an exec on that show, then became like an EP on that show, and then when Lauren left to go to Los Angeles, I asked MTV if I can make it a show, and once they said yes, I went and asked Lauren if she would let me make a show out of it. Actually, I'd ask her mom and dad because she wasn't 18 yet, so I did, out of respect, just ask her mother and father, like, can I pitch your daughter a show about going to LA? And it really was, I really, was excited about the idea of it. I kept saying, I explained to her and her parents, I was like, you're going to fall down and get up like 900 times while you're in Los Angeles. I was like, and I just want to be there to follow it. And I really want to tell your story. And I think the audience likes you a lot and would like to follow along as well. And so that's where it all kind of happened, man. And from there, it kind of took off. I mean, I don't think any of us thought The Hills was going to go as big as it did, but it thankfully it worked. And got me to where I am today. And, through that progression, I just kept developing shows and selling others. We did The City. After that, I did a show called Music City for CMT, and ended up flipping through the pages of Hollywood Reporter. Once again, I have to give them a lot of credit for my career. But flipping through the pages, and I saw a full page ad for the Oppenheim Group in HR in the Hollywood Reporter. So I took it, ripped it out, brought it into my development executive's office, and I was like, let's get a meeting with these people. This is a show. And less than 2 weeks, we were sitting in our office on those leather chairs. The cast was all sitting on that leather sofa, and myself, my development executive, were sitting where Jason and Brett usually sit in the show, and we pitched them the idea. And we're very lucky. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm very grateful that Jason took a chance with us. And, he had been on $1 Million Listing before. They were familiar with the world, and, they just didn't want to do a show. They didn't want to do like another reality Bravo type show. They was like, we don't want to do that. That's not what we're interested in. And I said, no, this is going to be different. I promise you I'll make it different. And they said, how would you ever make it different? And I was like, you know what? I want to make it at a level that we're going to sell to Netflix. I was like, that's what I want to do with our show. And they had said, Netflix doesn't have any reality shows. Like, what makes you think they're going to buy a reality show from you? And I was like, that's who I'm making it for. I was like, so that's what I'm going to keep my eye on the prize, and we're going to make it gorgeous and make it beautiful and not look like anything else on TV. And then we did, and it landed at Netflix. So it worked. I made that, that it was like a wish fulfillment. It happened. Me and Jason still laugh about it to this day that we had predicted that, and it actually came true.
Well, Adam, congratulations on the Emmy nomination. To our viewers, head over to goldderby.com, make your Emmy predictions, and check out more interviews with this year's nominees. Adam, again, pleasure to speak with you about Selling Sunset.
Thank you so much, Denton. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And yeah, let's see what happens in September.